So, again, hello everyone, and a very good afternoon. I hope you had a great lunch session, and I hope you are all recharged and refilled, and your tummies are all filled in and energized for our intermediate tracks sessions. So, we would be your host for the intermediate tracks. So, let me give you guys a quick introduction. So, myself Snigdha Joshi, and I'm also a core member of AWS at Silver Oak University. And with me is my fellow mate Rajiv Joshi, who is currently Cloud Captain at Silver Oak University. Rajiv, would you like to say something?
Hello everyone, કેમ છો બધા?
Okay, that was a very quick hello. Okay, so without wasting time, I think so we should start with our first session. So, Rajiv, would you like to invite our first speaker?
Yeah, sure. So, our first speaker is Mr. Omkar Kadam, lead DevOps engineer at Cactus Communications. Not only is Mr. Kadam an expert in DevOps, but he is also a pioneer in serverless computing. In his session, he will take us through exciting ways which we can automate and innovate our DevOps practice to make them more efficient and scalable. We are in for an enriching experience today. Let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Kadam as he takes on the stage.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello everyone. केम छो वडोदरा? कैसा है? And for the people joining from Mumbai, कैसा काय Mumbai? I am the one joining from Mumbai. I hope there are someone to give me company. Okay, so can we get a hand for people joining from various cities? Someone from Bangalore? Oh, nice. Someone from Kolkata? Like how many cities do we have here?
Gurgaon.
Oh, nice. So you have traveled all the way from Gurgaon?
No, I got relocated 2 months before only.
Okay, nice. So a lot of people are traveling from different corners of India, and that is always nice to be speaking with different peoples. So today, to give a brief about the whole session that I am going to cover, this is a clickbait. Basically, you can't master serverless into like a lightning talk for 15 minutes. You need to put more effort than that. But what I can give you in these 15 minutes is a very crisp or founding principles, basic understanding of the building blocks that you can take away from today's session, and then you can build on top of these examples or these insights that you gain. So let's take a look at the agenda. The first is title slide. I have given a brief introduction about it. Then speaker intro, which I will do now. So to tell about myself, I am Omkar Kadam and I am a lead DevOps engineer at Cactus Communications. Dhaval Bhai and Harshal are my close friends. They also work with Cactus. They have been working with Cactus. Harshal has switched now. And I am a lead DevOps engineer. I am a AWS community builder. I am also a DevOps ambassador, one of the youngest DevOps ambassador. And besides tech, I do a lot of stuff. I have a lot of dissimilar interest, and I am generally curious about a lot of things. So I am a blogger, technical blogger, podcast host. I'm a swimmer. I like to learn languages. Basically, I like to do anything and everything with text or data. Like give me a book and I'll get into deep dive into it. So that is about me. And today we'll cover serverless architecture overview. Like why should we choose serverless? Is serverless the right option for any use case that you are trying to cover? And what are the serverless offerings that AWS has? And in what scenarios can you pick which service? Also, we'll look at some of the best practices if we are designing a serverless workflow. And then we'll look at how serverless principles can be applied to your DevOps workflow. Like how can serverless help you reduce toil? How can serverless help you with automation? So yeah, let's get started. Okay, so before we begin, what is the current level of adoption of DevOps or adoption of serverless? Heavy use. Okay. So people who said heavy use, my questions will be directed at you, and I'll ask more questions, and we'll get understandings about what it is that you really care about when designing serverless systems. So first, why serverless? Can anyone shout the basic reasons or basic points in which they prefer serverless over traditional server architectures?
Cost. To save cost.
Cost, I hear cost as the major point. Any other features?
To manage less things.
What about scale?
Auto scale.
That automatic scaling is generally available in all kind of server also and serverless architectures also. Anything. It is on the slide. You can just read it and answer. So what does it mean? Stateless functions. What does statelessness mean? Can anyone try to answer statelessness? Have you heard statelessness?
Subsequent request can go to the instance.
Yes. So statelessness means you build systems which are idempotent in nature. Idempotent means it does not has track of the overall, it does not save session, or it does not basically has session history. Every request is a new request, kind of like an event registration page. You register, a new user gets created, a profile gets saved onto your Dynamo database or any kind of database. But we are talking serverless, so we'll cover majorly serverless offerings, which is Dynamo database and other. So short-lived compute instances, basically AWS works with the shared responsibility model, and they are trying to reduce or eliminate the overhead that customers get or customers have for provisioning infrastructure and managing the infrastructure. So AWS is trying to add support to Lambda so that people do not have to manage or update or make sure that they are organizing or taking care of their own infrastructure. Another approach is automatic scaling, wherein no management or very low management is required. You do not have to patch your Lambda functions. You do not have to care about provisioning or scaling. Like it basically scales as per the request. API gateway can scale dynamically, and API gateway can add more Lambdas, more provision throughput, so that once you get a lot of requests, your scaling is taken care of. And pay per execution model, which is cost effective. You get billed for the seconds that you are using. Basically, event driven architecture. Let's understand what are events. Event is anything or any information that is emitted by anyone and which can be of use. You can store events, you can queue them, and you can process them later. So like if there is a queue, like we had queue for the lunch system, everyone was waiting for their turn and taking the food for them. So in that way, you can have a queue and you can basically store all the events to process them later. So some workflows are not real time. Basically, they can afford some time before they get results back. So in case of this workloads, you can add events to a queue, and for queue there are several offerings on AWS. You can add SQS, you can add it into RabbitMQ, Amazon MQ, and then you can process once you have the bandwidth, or once you can and process them as per your workflows. So you can have a serverless serverless function to pick those events, and based on the event, basically event is something is happening, something will happen. So it gives you information about how to consume this event and what actions can you take in response to that event. So to give a brief example of event, let's say someone says, I have to click a picture for every every person who comes into a shop and he orders something. So you order something and you click a picture of the product that you have ordered, and then it gets uploaded to your inventory. So such kind of workflows can be made, and basically the events that you are trying, someone is to consume this event and take actions on those events. Like what happens after the inventory has been added. Like you can build some workflow which automatically orders something if the inventory is beyond or inventory is low. Like a lot of warehouses can actually make this serverless functions so that they are well stocked and they do not face any shortage of inventory or resources. So this slide tells about the various serverless platforms or services that are available on AWS. I'm sure most of us will know like basic services of this. Lambda, Fargate. Fargate is for having containers on AWS. Amazon ECS with Fargate. AppRunner is also a service which helps you. It is a managed service which helps you deploy and manage containers. Step functions. Yes, other important service over here is code build, code pipeline. So from a DevOps perspective, the managed code build, testing and deployment services help us with the serverless provisioning so that developers do not have to make or keep checking Jenkins build to get the current output or build status of what they have deployed. They can basically use out of the box managed services and try to get the status of their code or status of how they have built the service. Other popular serverless functions are AWS Lambda. In case of Azure, they have Azure Cloud Functions. For Google, we have Google Cloud Functions, and same for other cloud providers. Okay, so event-driven architecture. I hope we have covered the event-driven basics, and now let's take a look at best practices for event-driven architectures. So first thing is statelessness. Statelessness, you should design for statelessness. Your design should be idempotent. That is, if a bank transfer gets, if a transaction gets processed, it should not be processed or money should not be debited again. So design for atomicity, design for statelessness, and make sure that you design in such a way that your programs or your containers, they can respond, they do not affect the current state of the application. And optimize for functions and size runtime. Basically Lambda functions or serverless functions, they are for short-lived applications like some document processing or web request. You just do a event, like let's say today while coming from the hotel to the venue, I booked a cab, I booked Uber. So during that, the fetch API or the fetch rider, that is an event-driven call. And event-driven calls should be very limited in size. The footprint of your applications or API calls should be small enough that they run quick and give you the results quickly. Also, implement robust error handling. Like any kind of exceptions or errors that occur in the application, you need to have touch points in your code or applications in such a way that you get alerted, you get distributed tracing, and you are sure to pinpoint at which component or at which level was this error caused, and then you can narrow down the surface area and try to eliminate other components and get faster at the issue resolution. Also, security measures. So security is day zero at Amazon. So that is how we should be designing our systems. Always think of security first and design. Make sure that security is part of your development and it is not an afterthought. So for appropriate security measures, you can have IAM policies and have fine-tuned least privilege accesses so that your Lambda functions or your workloads have only required level of access and nothing beyond that. Okay, so this is a very popular use case for serverless architecture. What's brewing? So anyone likes coffee, Starbucks is the perfect use case. If you don't like coffee, Chayos or any other chai point, something you can, the names doesn't matter, the example does. So this is a typical architecture for a coffee shop, and we have divided all the events or all individual use cases that generally from the point we enter into a coffee shop to the point we get our order. Everything is an event. And how are these events processed? This is the description of it. So you put an order received, then the order preparation starts. Once the order is complete, once the order is processed, you get the payment processing, you get the payment gateway integrations, you get the payment acknowledgement, payment receipt number. There are also special offers and various campaigns running onto the displays. So that is also an event stream. And special offers are refreshed time based, they are refreshed based on days, based on traffic patterns, anything. Music playlists are updated and also inventory so that they always have the raw materials in place and everyone gets their coffees. So this is the serverless coffee architecture in place. Devices to order. You place an order. Order is placed via the API gateway integration. It goes to the order service. Order service updates the inventory, and once the payment service calls the payment gateway. Payment gateway, based on your payment provider, it gives you the authentication. It authorizes the transaction. And it gives a feedback that yes, this has been processed. And on every stage of the order, you get notifications because customers are now very smart and they expect a lot of information at each stage. So it is important to update them at every part of their order journey, and inventory service is necessary to update the status of the back office. Like yes, this store is now running low on sugar or low on coffee. So it places a back order and it tries to always fulfill and manage the resources so that everyone is always full stock. An analytical platform can help give the overall sales throughput, or what is the kind of sales generated month on month, or what was the traffic pattern, and based on transactional queries, and you can have reporting in place. So analytical platform, Redshift, Athena, you can use those services to get a sales invoice record for this. Okay, so DevOps loves serverless. Like I mentioned, the major services are code build, code pipeline, and these services are interconnected to a code deploy bucket. And also every event that is processed, we can get event notifications to SNS, basically inform developers about the status of every build, and if a build goes wrong, like take some preventive actions to ensure that the build is corrected. So monitoring and alerts, infrastructure as code using CDK and CloudFormation Lambda. Security and compliance, always continuous security scan with Security Hub. So founder mode by serverless, basically it helps you do quick identification, quick rapid experimentation, and low reliable cost. So this is why serverless features are the best if you want to test new features into your and get to your customers fast. So this is why serverless is a perfect choice for building your minimal viable product. So if you have any ideas, you can just get started with all the services, manage the services in a way that are orchestrated enough. Put a Lambda API gateway which connects to Lambda, and for the database you can use any kind of database streaming, and you have a product which can be quickly used, and you can get output, you can get actual user feedback and then iterate upon that and work backwards. So yeah, this concludes my session, and these are some links which are very handy, and you should follow this. So yeah, open for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Omkar Kadam. Your session was truly insightful. Now, I request Ashish Patel sir to felicitate Omkar sir. Okay. Now, I request Adit Modi sir to felicitate Omkar sir. Thank you, sir. So, just a quick update. Since we are having a bit of time constraints, each speaker will be covering the session within half an hour. So, don't worry, those half an hour are gonna be really quality sessions, so you won't be missing out on anything. I request everyone to please scan this QR code so you can give your valuable feedback for the session. Also, if you guys are planning to, post about ACD on social media, we have some hashtags with us. So you can use hashtag ACDVAD24, or you can use hashtag fun@ACDVAD24. So if you guys are gonna post about ACD, please do use these hashtags. Now, next up on the speaker line, we have privilege to have Mr. Derek Tucker, Enterprise Solution Architect at AWS. He will lead us through the process of building event-driven architects on AWS, demonstrating how to design systems that are responsive and adaptable in real time. The stage is yours, sir. Everyone, please give a huge round of applause.